The book of Malachi is the last book of the Old Testament, and it serves as a bridge between the Old Testament and the New Testament. It is also considered one of the minor prophets, along with books such as Hosea and Micah. The book is attributed to the prophet Malachi, whose name translates to "my messenger" in Hebrew. However, little is known about the prophetic figure of Malachi, and some scholars believe that the name refers to the anonymous author of the book. Malachi was written during a time when the Israelites had returned from their exile in Babylon and were faced with an uncertain future. The people had rebuilt the temple and resettled in their land, but their hearts were still far from God. The book addresses the issues of complacency and spiritual apathy among the Israelites, reminding them of their covenant with God and calling them to repentance and renewed commitment to Him. The book begins with a message from God, declaring His love for His people and reminding them of the covenant He made with them. However, the people of Israel challenge this declaration, asking how God has loved them. They are confronted with their own unfaithfulness, and God responds by pointing out their disobedience, specifically in the areas of their worship, their priesthood, and their relationships. In regards to worship, God accuses the people of offering unacceptable sacrifices, showing disrespect for His name, and being careless in their offerings. In a society where offerings and sacrifices were meant to be an act of devotion and love towards God, the Israelites had become indifferent and mechanical in their worship. God makes it clear that true worship involves offering one's best, and He rejects any offerings that are less than sincere and heartfelt. The book also critiques the priesthood, accusing them of neglecting their duties and leading the people astray. The priests were meant to be spiritual leaders and models of faithfulness, but instead they had failed to uphold God's standards and had become corrupt. They had allowed idol worship and intermarriage with foreign women, which were both forbidden by God. This issue of intermarriage reflects the broader problem of the strained relationship between God and His people. The Israelites had grown comfortable with their sins and had disregarded the commands of God. Their hearts were hardened, and they questioned the justice of God, doubting His faithfulness and love towards them. In response, God declares that He will purify His people through a messenger of judgment, who is believed to be John the Baptist, who will prepare the way for the coming Messiah. The book also addresses the issue of social justice. The rich and powerful were oppressing the poor, and God spoke out against this injustice, promising to judge those who had taken advantage of the vulnerable. He calls the people to remember the importance of community and to treat each other with fairness and compassion. In the last chapter of the book, God assures His people of hope and restoration. He promises to send the Son of Righteousness, who will bring healing and restoration to their land. And He also reminds them of the day of judgment, when the righteous will be rewarded and the wicked will be punished. He encourages the people to remain faithful and obedient, promising to bless them abundantly if they return to Him wholeheartedly. The book of Malachi ends with a call to remember God's law and promises and to anticipate the coming of the Messiah. It serves as a reminder of the consequences of disobedience and the importance of a renewed commitment to God and His ways. The book also echoes the prophecy in Isaiah, proclaiming the coming of John the Baptist as the forerunner of the Messiah, who will bring salvation to the world. Overall, the book of Malachi carries a message of hope and restoration for God's people. It addresses the issues of unfaithfulness and injustice, emphasizing the importance of remaining true to God's covenant and living a life of sincerity and devotion. It serves as a fitting conclusion to the Old Testament, paving the way for the coming of Jesus Christ and the fulfillment of God's promises to His people.